The problem of vision loss due to trauma is considered to be a pressing issue all over the world. Around 40 million people on the planet have gone blind due to optic nerve damage. Modern science knows methods that help patients regain hearing, or, for example, the ability to move. But no one has ever managed to regain lost sight. Russian scientists have come closer to solving this problem. They have been developing the technology to bring people out of the dark since 2012.
It is a story of success when you try and try again, and then fate puts you on a right track. That's how it worked out for me. I specialize in ophthalmology. I'm a doctor who works with eyes that helped people not to go blind. That wasn't enough for me. The tools I had in my practice weren't enough, and I saw people who couldn't be helped. But technically, I knew that there were scientific ways to do it.
In fact, a person sees with their brain, their visual cortex at the back of the brain. The eyes and the optic nerve just transmit the information, but the brain is responsible for the processing and understanding of everything that surrounds us. If we transmit a picture from the camera directly to the visual cortex, then a person will be able to see images, outlines of items, and objects with an electronic vision. In fact, this device consists of 3 blocks. The first part is a hoop with cameras. The blind patient wears it on their head. Since their eyes can't see, the cameras will see for them. The patient's got a special computer on their belt. There is a battery and a powerful processor which converts the picture from the camera in real time into a signal that can be perceived by the brain. And we've come up with a technology that allows that signal to be transmitted from the outside into one's head. Luba, how can I transmit a signal to the brain without using the eyes and optic nerve?
We need top-notch neurosurgeons to implant a chip in the patient's brain. An electronic bio-device will wirelessly receive a computer signal and stimulate the visual cortex.
It's about this size. It's fixed on top of the skull, with screws to keep it from moving. There's an antenna coming out of it. That little puck, like in cell phones for wireless charging. The chip is sewn into the head under the skin. It's covered with hair. Nobody sees it. We use materials that have been used in medicine for a long time and have proven to be biocompatible or inert, as they are also called. For example, polymite, which is used in brain surgeries. Titanium, everyone is familiar with titanium, which is screwed into bones and no one doubts its biocompatibility. Medical silicone is also familiar to many. Common materials. We decided not to use anything super innovative yet, though we are working on it, because in that case, blind people would have to wait for a long time.
The electronic vision technology can be described as a flash. When we close our eyes and see some bright flash like a star in the sky, this is what a blind person will see when we stimulate one electrode on the brain's surface. We have several hundreds of these electrodes. As if the sky is colored with all sorts of flashes of light, it is possible to make up a constellation. So in the brain, flashes can make up outlines of objects. For instance, to outline a car with flashes, or show where the doorway is. If we give a person electronic vision, they clearly won't be navigating in space with any delay. There was a car here and now it's gone. It's not right to give such a system to a patient, so information from the camera is transmitted to the visual cortex several times a second. This means that if I move my hand in front of me, like this, I will see this movement without any delay. Our patients will be able to navigate, but they won't be able to recognize their friends among other people or identify a face or facial features.
The very idea of giving people their sight back has been around. We didn't invent it. So naturally, we are not the only ones developing this kind of technology in the world. We are the only Russian team. But abroad, there are at least 6 teams at different stages that are trying to solve this problem in different ways. We are asked, what makes us better than our competitors? There are many aspects here. The first, and most important, is that we are now developing a device with consideration of state-of-the-art technologies, including artificial intelligence. Others are using outdated technology. This alone makes us better. They may enter the market before we do. It's a possible scenario, but they won't have this entire set. Such devices haven't entered the market yet because of the most complex things, the chip, software, and rehabilitation. When we talk about rehabilitation, people assume that it's a short process, a week or 2, maybe a month, to do some exercises. Here, it is a colossal work with a lot of nuances. And this sums up the innovation. The rehabilitator will have to explain that the patient is looking at a mug. And each person will have a unique phosphine flash pattern. If a person wants to study it, understand that it's a mug, they need to hold it like this or like that. Whoever gets this implant is going to be like a newborn. It's a completely incomprehensible signal for the brain. It's artificial, but our brain has a neuroplasticity feature. Over time, it will get used to it and form meaningful images out of these signals. This process takes about 6 months.
A person with electronic vision has to memorize what certain objects look like in a new light, when smart technology outlines silhouettes with flashes. The learning process is ensured by neuroplasticity, or the brain's ability to adapt from experience, to restore old neural connections and form new ones.
In terms of color, we can only talk about black and white images so far. We stimulate the visual cortex mechanically with a low current. It responds with flashes. So far, we know these flashes are predominantly monochrome. We have not yet learned how to get deep into neural connections to stimulate color images. And nobody in the world can do it either. At the moment, we are at the stage of preclinical studies. These are the trials that involve animals. We are testing our system on primates and proving its effectiveness and safety.
As far as which monkeys the studies are carried out on, they should be big. That's quite important. So out of the most intelligent primates, we chose the biggest one, which is the Anubis baboon. Its adult brain has the same volume as a human brain at 8 to 9 years old. I'll tell you straight away, we don't blind them. It's very important that they can see. We are planning a trial with behavioral assessment. First, we train the monkeys to communicate with us. Then, we implant the chip, and the trained monkeys, after stimulation, answer our questions. To put it simply, I can give you an idea of how it happens. We send a signal in the form of a circle to the monkey's brain, with its eyes closed. Then, the monkey opens its eyes and sees a circle and a stick on the screen. And it has to choose the circle and touch it. Touch it to confirm that it has seen a circle.
We plan to complete preclinical studies on primates in a year. Then it'll take us about 2 years to conduct clinical trials with blind volunteers and certify the system in Russia. This means that by the end of 2027, Russian neurosurgeons will be implanting the first certified neuro devices into the brain on a scheduled basis. The human brain is a unique organ. It can adapt to any signal and any environment. That's why such implants will be used by people. Well, the first to try them will be people who've gone blind, not who were born blind. They have already accumulated visual experience. Their cortex, their neural connections remember how to navigate, what objects look like. But neurophysiologists all over the world agree that even people who were born blind can still be provided such a system. No one has done this yet, not even in short-term studies. But we believe that it's possible. And just as a child's brain learns to see and interpret the world around, a person born blind with such an implant will be able to develop their visual cortex for cognitive processes. Luba, what will the objects look like for a patient with bionic vision?
The image will be similar to the graphics of the first video games.